Testing. With the hand of Adonai upon me, Adonai carried me out by the Spirit, set me down in the middle of the valley. It was full of bones. He had me pass by all around them. There were so many bones lying in the valley, and they were so dry. He asked me, "Human being, can these bones live?" I answered, "Adonai Elohim, only you know that." Then he said to me, "Prophesy over these bones. Say to them, dry bones, hear what Adonai has to say. These bones, Adonai Elohim says, I will make breath enter into you, and you will live. I will attach ligaments to you, make flesh grow on you, cover you with skin, and put breath in you. You will live. You will know that I am Adonai." So I prophesied as ordered. While I was prophesying, there was a noise, a rattling sound. It was the bones coming together, each bone in its proper place. As I watched, ligaments grew on them, flesh appeared, and skin covered them, but there was no breath in them. Next he said to me, "Prophesy to the breath. Prophesy, human being. Say to the breath that Adonai Elohim says, come from the four winds, breath. Breathe on these slain so that they can live." So I prophesied as ordered. The breath came into them, and they were alive. They stood up on their feet, a huge army. Then he said to me, "Human being, these bones, the whole house of Israel, they are saying, our bones have dried up. Our hope is gone. We are completely cut off. Therefore prophesy. Say to them that Adonai Elohim says, my people, I open your graves and make you get out of your graves, and I will bring you into the land of Israel. Then you will know that I am Adonai. When I have opened your graves and made you get up out of your graves, my people, I will put my spirit in you and you will be alive. Then I will place you in your own land, and you will know that I, Adonai, have spoken. I have done it, says Adonai. The word of Adonai came to me, "You, human being, take one stick and write on it for Yehuda and those joined with him among the people of Israel. Next, take a stick and write on it for Joseph, a stick of Ephraim, all the house of Israel who are joined with him. Finally, bring them together until a single stick, so that they can become one in your hand. Your people ask you what all this means. Tell them that Adonai Elohim says this, I will take the stick of Joseph, which is in the hand of Ephraim, together with the tribes of Israel who are joined with him, and put them together with the stick of Yehuda, make them a single stick, so that they become one in my hand. The sticks on which you write are to be in your hand as they watch. Then say to them that Adonai Elohim says, I will take the people of Israel from among the nations, where they have gone, and gather them from every side and bring them back to the land, to their own land. I will make them one nation in the land. On the mountains of Israel, and one king will be the king for all of them. They will no longer be two nations. They will never again be divided into two kingdoms. They will never again defile themselves with their idols, their detestable things, or any other transgressions, but I will save them from all the places they have been living and sinning, and I will cleanse them, so that they will be my people and I will be their God. My servant David will be king over them, and all of them will have one shepherd. They will live by my rulings and keep and observe my regulations. They will live in the land I gave to Yaakov, my servant, where your ancestors lived. They will live there, they, their children, their grandchildren forever. David, my servant, will be their leader forever. I will make a covenant of peace with them, an everlasting covenant. I will give to them increase their numbers and set my sanctuary among them forever. My home will be with them. I will be their God, and they will be my people. The nations will know that I am Adonai, who sets Israel apart as holy, when my sanctuary is with them forever. The word of Adonai came to me, human being, turn your face towards Gog, in the land of Magog, chief prince of Meshech, and Tuval. Prophesy against Tuval. I will turn you around, put hooks in your jaws, and bring you out with all your army, horses, horsemen, all completely equipped. A great horde with breastplates and shields, all wielding swords. Paras, Ethiopia, and Put are with them, all with breastplates and helmets. Gomer with all its troops, in the house of Togarmah, in the far reaches of the north, with all its troops. Many peoples are with you. Prepare yourself, get ready. You are all crowded together around you. Take charge of them. After many days have passed, you will be mustered for service. In later years, you will invade the land which has been brought back from the sword, gathered out of many peoples, the mountains of Israel. They have been lying in ruins for a long time. But now Israel has been extracted from the peoples of all them living there securely. You will come up like a storm, be like a cloud covering the land, you and your troops, and many other peoples with you. Adonai Elohim says, when that day comes, thoughts will well up in your mind, and you will devise a sinister scheme. You will say, I'm going to invade this land of unwalled villages. I will take by surprise these people who are at peace, living securely. All the places around walls, bars, and gates. I will seize the spoil and take the plunder. You will attack the former ruins that are now inhabited and come against the people gathered from the nations who have acquired livestock and other wealth and are living in the central parts of the land. Sheba, Dedan, all the leading merchants of Tarshish will ask you, have you come to seize spoil? Have you assembled your hordes to loot, to carry off silver, gold, livestock, and other wealth, to take much plunder? Therefore, human being, prophesy. Tell Gog that Adonai Elohim says this. Won't you be aware of it? When my people Israel are living in security, you will choose just that time to come from your place in the far reaches of the north, you and many peoples with you, all of them on horseback, a huge horde, a mighty army. And you will invade my people Israel like a cloud covering the land. This will be your Acharat Hayayimim. I will bring you against my land so that the nations will know when, before their eyes, I set apart as holy through you, Gog. Adonai Elohim says, I spoke of you long ago through my servants, the prophets of Israel. Back then, they prophesied for many years that I would have you invade them. When that day comes, when Gog invades the land of Israel, says Adonai Elohim, my furious anger will boil up. My jealousy and the heated fury I speak, the day comes that there will be a great earthquake in the land of Israel, so that the fish of the sea and the birds of the air, the wild beasts, all the reptiles creeping on the ground, and every human being there in the land will tremble before me. Mountains will fall, cliffs crumble, and every wall crash to the ground. I will summon a sword against him through all the mountains, says Adonai Elohim. Every man will wield his sword against his brother. I will judge him with plague and with blood. I will cause torrential rain to fall on him, his troops and many peoples with him, along with huge hailstorms, fire, and sulfur. I will show my greatness and holiness, making myself known in the sight of many nations. Then they will know that I am Adonai. So you, human being, prophesy against Gog. Say that Adonai Elohim says, I am against you, Gog, chief prince of Meshech and Tuval. I will turn you around, lead you, and bring you from the far reaches of the north against the mountains of Israel. Then I will knock your bow out of your left hand and make your arrow drop from your right hand. You will fall in the mountains of Israel, you, your troops, and the peoples with you. I will give you to be eaten up by all kinds of birds of prey and wild animals. You will fall in the open fields, for I have spoken, says Adonai Elohim. I will also send fire against Magog and against those living securely in the coastlands. Then they will know that I am Adonai. I will make my holy name known among my people Israel, and I will not allow my holy name to be profaned any longer. Then the nations will know that I am Adonai, the Holy One of Israel. Yes, this is coming. And it is done, says Adonai Elohim. This is the day about which I have spoken. Those living in Israel's cities will go out and set fire to the weapons to use as fuel. The shields, breastplates, bows, arrows, clubs, and spears, they will use them for fire 7 years, so that they will not need to gather wood from the fields or cut down any of forest, because they will use their weapons for fire. Thus, they will plunder those who plundered them and rob those who robbed them, says Adonai. When that day comes, I will give Gog a place there in Israel for graves, Travelers' Valley, east of the sea, and it will block the traveler's passage. There they will bury Gog and all his horde, and they will rename the valley of Haman Gog, horde of Gog. It will take the house of Israel 7 months to bury them in order to cleanse the land. Yes, all the people of the land will be burying them. They will become famous for it. It will be a day for me to be glorified, says Adonai Elohim. They will then pick men from the continual duty of going through the land and burying them with the travelers' corpses still lying on the ground in order to cleanse it. They will begin their search after 7 months. As they go through the land, if anyone sees a human being, you will put a marker next to it until the grave diggers have buried it in the valley of Haman Gog. Moreover, Hamanah, its horde or multitude, will be the name of the city. Thus will they cleanse the land. As for you, human, Adonai Elohim says that you are to speak to all kinds of birds and every wild animal as follows. Assemble yourselves and come. Gather yourselves from all for the sacrifice I am preparing for you, a great sacrifice in the mountain of Israel, where you can eat flesh and drink blood. You will eat the flesh of heroes and drink the blood of the earth's princes, rams, lambs, goats, and bulls, fattened in Bashan, all of them. You will eat the fat till you are gorged and drink blood till you are drunk at the sacrifice I have prepared for you. At my table you will be satisfied with horses, horsemen, heroes, and every kind of warrior, says Adonai Elohim. Thus will I display my glory among the nations, so that all the nations will see my judgment when I execute it, and in my hand I will lay it on them. From that day on, the house of Israel will know that I am Adonai their God, while the nations will know that the house of Israel went into exile because of their guilt, because they broke faith with me, so that I hid my face from them and handed them over to their adversaries. They fell by the sword, all of them. Yes, I treated them as their uncleanliness and crimes deserve. I hid my face from them. Therefore Adonai Elohim says this: Now I will restore the fortunes of Yaakov and have compassion on the entire house of Israel. I will be jealous for my holy name. They will bear their shame and all of their guilt from breaking faith with me once they are living securely in their land, with no one to make them afraid. This will be after I have brought them back from the peoples and gathered them out of their enemies' lands, thereby being consecrated through them in the sight of many nations. Then they will know that I am Adonai their God, since it was I who caused them to go into exile among the nations, and it was I who regathered them from their own land. I will leave none of them there anymore, and I will no longer hide my face from them. I have poured out my spirit on the house of Israel, says Adonai Elohim.